Good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. in NYC and in the apple farming country in upstate New York. I'm Sam Kimball from Crush Wine Experiences. Thank you so much for joining us on virtual day trip to wine country presented by Citi. We are here for Upstate Vodka, small batch, all natural, and award-winning vodka from upstate New York. I think you're going to find this very interesting simply because we have so much information about this very interesting beverage. We are going to a small town called Charlottesville, New York, about 1 hour west of Albany. Population of Charlottesville is 128 people, and it's Charlottesville, no S, Charlottesville. It's apple farming country, and it's where things are still handcrafted. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that as we go. Our theme for the evening is making go-to cocktails for the fall. And I actually just made one of the cocktails, and it's so good, I can't even tell you. And to make the drinks, obviously, we'll be using Upstate Vodka, which is the leading craft vodka brand in the US, made 100% from apples. That's right, not wheat, not corn, not rye, not potatoes, but apples. Very, very interesting story. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's great to see a bunch of people joining us for this session. While you're there, while you're here on the Zoom, hit the chat and let us know where in the world you are tuning in from. We love to see that. We'll also answer any questions on the fly during the session. So if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, please go ahead and feel free to interrupt us, ask that question, make that comment. So hit the chat if you would right now and let us know where in the world you are tuning in from. And let me just make sure the chat is enabled for everybody. I think I just enabled it. So let's see. Chat is disabled. Yeah, I think Sharon, I just enabled it. Check it now if you would. We want you guys to be able to comment and ask questions. So hey, there we go. Hey, Kathleen, North Carolina in the house, Croton on Hudson. Excellent. Dallas, Texas. Love it. All right, Will, our guest, his pressure is on him. We've got a nationwide audience: San Diego, California, Pennsylvania, Trumbull, Connecticut, and Croton on Hudson, and Durham, North Carolina. So bunch of people tuning in. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's take a look at Charlottesville, because as we said, it's 1 hour west of the state capital of Albany. And I am going to put a map up in my background here. And you will see where we're going. It's way upstate New York. So you see that down in the bottom of the screen, you see New York City, and then quite far north, kind of headed up towards the Finger Lakes, you'll see a red map pin, and that's where Charlottesville is. And that is where the distillery for Upstate Vodka resides. This is actually a couple of the buildings on the property that house the distillery. They've got a great picture of this old Jeep, this old off-road vehicle near the distillery buildings. And then one of the things we're going to learn about is the still. So these are, in my background, are pictures of the actual still that make the vodka. And there's some interesting facts about this particular still. Out of all the 195 distilleries in New York State, there's something distinct and unique about this still. Complimentary shipping is when you buy 2 bottles or more of this Upstate Vodka. I love it. The first time I tried it, I was amazed at the mouthfeel. It's velvety smooth. We're going to learn a little bit more about that. And if you go to drinkupstatevodka.com, all one word, drinkupstatevodka.com. You can find the vodka, and you can also take advantage of the shipping deal. A 750 milliliter bottle of Upstate Vodka is only $29.99. So it's for a very, very high quality craft spirit. It's quite affordable and price accessible. So you might ask, why would there be a vodka made from apples in New York State? Well, many of you may know this already. Hit the chat if you do, but does everybody know the nickname for New York City? I've heard of the Big Apple. New York State is historically one of the largest apple growing states and regions in the country. And they still on an annual basis have a harvest of 30 million bushels of apples, many different varietals of apples, many different types. And it's actually the second largest apple producing state in the country. And as a point of trivia, obviously, I actually didn't know this until I came across Upstate Vodka and learned about the apple industry in New York. But that is why NYC is called the Big Apple. Those of you watching may know that. All right, a few facts. 55,000 acres of apples in New York State. It's mostly upstate, well north of the city, hundreds of miles, and in the Hudson Valley as well. 6 major production districts around the state: Champlain Valley, Eastern Hudson, Western Hudson, Central New York, Niagara. And there are 600 apple farms in the state of New York. So fascinating facts. And, it's interesting for those of us who are based in New York City, we sometimes forget that there's a tremendous amount of agriculture and farming that goes on in the great state of New York. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest, Will Hadjigeorgalis. He is the brand ambassador and he's the in-house mixologist at Upstate Vodka, and he's a veteran of the craft spirits scene. He's worked with lots of different awesome spirits and alcoholic beverages. And I want to welcome Will. It is so much fun having you here tonight.
How you doing, Sam? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing all right. Now that I'm with you, and I made this amazing cocktail that you gave me the recipe for. So where does this broadcast find you exactly?
It's actually from my kitchen in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm beaming in from Eastern Long Island, out by the wine country near the North Fork. So not far away, but pretty far away from Charlottesville, where the distillery is. So I got a few questions about Upstate Vodka. The first one is, and these are questions that I had before I first tried it, and they're questions that I think people will have in general. Does it taste like apples?
No, so it is not apple flavored vodka. So you can make vodka out of anything that produces sugar. Because we're such a large apple producing state, it made sense for us to go ahead and do this with apples. And it actually is a long, laborious process. It's actually more difficult to do than a traditional vodka, but you get an amazing flavor out of it. So it's worth it.
How many apples does it take to make one bottle of Upstate Vodka?
So this is our 750 here. So this is about 75 apples to make this bottle.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will tell you, so I have 2 glasses in front of me. One of them is one of the cocktails, which we're going to profile in a few minutes. The other is just some Upstate Vodka neat in a highball glass. It is so smooth. It's not as harsh as, I've had a couple of other vodkas that are relatively smooth, but this is the smoothest one I've ever tasted. And you're right, there's no hint of apple flavor. It's just what it's made from, but super smooth. And I wonder if that's just a byproduct of having, so much effort go into making the vodka.
So we have a special way that we distill. We have an extra long fermentation process. So what happens is we take the apples, we press them into a cider, and then we ferment the apple. The apple cider takes about 4 to 6 weeks. Wow. So grain vodka that you're made from corn or from wheat is done in about a week. So that extra long fermentation process produces a lot of different congeners and flavors and aromatic compounds. And when you end up drinking the vodka, it has this wonderful mouthfeel to it because we actually use different types of apples as well. So, you need sugar to produce alcohol. So you think we probably use the sweetest apples, but we actually use a variety of different apples, including those that are a little bit more tart or a little bit more acidic that have more tannins to them. Just like a fine wine has tannins, it interacts with like your taste buds, and that's why it has that mouthfeel to it. It's because we use different types of apples.
Got it. Got it. So that was my next question. And sorry to hit you with a lightning.
Sorry to answer ahead of time.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. What kinds of apples? So I'm familiar with Granny Smith and Red Delicious and Macintosh. What are the apple varietals or types that go into Upstate Vodka?
So it's a whole big old mishmash. So we actually grow some on our property, and then everything is sourced within 50 miles of the distillery. So there's mostly cider-based apples, opposed to like the ones you would find in a grocery store. Because that is the large amount of apples that we produce here in New York. But there's a variety of it, and we get a certain mixture together to produce that cider to make sure it tastes the same way all the time.
Got it. Got it. Now, are they mostly red apples, or are there some that are like the Granny Smith or the Golden Delicious?
Most red apples that grow up here in New York. So
it's green apples.
But no, it's mostly red apples that grow up.
Mostly red apples. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then, okay. So we have a question from Iona. For those of us who have food allergies, is it safe to assume it is gluten-free?
That is a wonderful question. I was going to talk about that.
Iona, you read our question list.
So we are actually a certified gluten-free distillery, and that is a lot of paperwork and a lot of work to make sure that you stay that way. So nothing besides apples ever enters a distillery. So therefore, we don't make anything else with wheat or with corn or any other byproducts. It's just apples. So we are certified gluten-free. We're also certified kosher. During Passover, we actually make a special Passover edition of our vodka that's available. But yes, if you have celiacs, you're 100% safe to drink our vodka.
The other question that she had was, has there been any feedback if there's any extra tannins that add to causing headaches? I don't think there's any tannins at all in this vodka, right?
Well, there's tannins, and tannins are acids that interact with your tongue. Yeah. So when you notice a mouthfeel, or you notice a red wine that has a full body, that is actually the tannic acids interacting with your mouth. Right. So yeah, but no, it's distilled to 96% alcohol, so like removes most of like anything else that could possibly give you a hangover, but the flavor's still there. I
mean, I'm a sommelier and a wine expert. You're a spirits expert.
Yeah.
I will say the tannins that you get in wine are pretty much exclusively from red wine, and you're getting it. And red wine is red because of the skins of the grapes.
Yeah.
That stay in for part of the fermentation process, and they give it that wonderful dry and full bodied taste and mouthfeel. But that's also the tannins themselves are I react to it, Iona, just like you. I react to it. I love red wine. It doesn't love me. But the tannins are primarily from the skins on the grapes in that case. All right. So you mentioned fermentation. So there's a 4 to 6 week fermentation process.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
So then it is turned into kind of an apple wine, if you will, is like the first level of the fermentation. So once we ferment it, you kind of get it around, 17% alcohol. And then that is run through our still. The first time, it's a hybrid still that we have. So it's a combination pot still versus column still. So vodka has to be made in a column still to get it to the legal designation of purity that you need. A lot of vodka, some vodka brands tell you that all of their vodka is distilled just in pot stills, which is like physically impossible. Yeah, there's a picture of it. So it's done as the first run is done through it's a hybrid still, but it's done as a pot still. That can't get to the high alcohol content that you need to be to consider vodka, and then we run it one more time through the column still. So each column has little plates, copper plates in there that absorb malodors and organic compounds that would ruin the flavor and things like that.
So the still, this is the picture of the still, yeah? Are you guys seeing this?
Yeah, I am. I guess everyone else is.
Yeah. So this is a picture of the still. What is special and unique about the still at Upstate Vodka?
So it actually is the largest still in New York State.
And there's 190 something craft distilleries
Yeah.
in New York. So that is definitely a distinction, a super interesting distinction. All right. So a couple other questions. How long does it take to make Upstate Vodka with apples as compared to the length of time it takes to make other types of vodka, like corn-based vodka, which is like Tito's, or potato vodka, or wheat-based vodka?
So wheat corn takes about a week to ferment before you can distill it. And then the fermentation process is the longest process. So for us, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for our fermentation process.
So corn is much faster.
Yeah.
Yep. And is wheat also?
Yeah. They're similar. So essentially grain vodkas in general are about a week.
Interesting.
Process. Yeah.
Question from Kathleen: is the still made in Germany?
I don't know for sure, and I think I was positive it is, because that's like most new stills are made in Germany, but I don't know for sure, so I don't want
to. It's certainly, it's all gleaming and looks very sort of technically.
Every other distillery I've ever been to that has a new still has been made in Germany, so I'm presuming so, but I don't want to make any assumption.
They must. This one's got, I mean, I think that the columns are like 30 feet high.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gigantic. So it had to come in like pieces.
Yeah. So it's just little round circles. You see like little windows. That there's an actual copper plate that's inside of those, and the vapors, the alcoholic vapors, go through the copper plate, and it filters it out as it goes up.
Got it.
Yeah.
How strong is Upstate Vodka?
80 proof, 40% alcohol, just like most other vodka brands. Yep.
So it's at the same, like Tito's or Belvedere, same thing.
Tito's, Grey Goose, Belvedere, all the same thing. Yeah.
It is gluten-free. It's kosher.
Mm-hmm.
And the last question I have before we start mixing cocktails, which is
the best part. Yeah.
My favorite part. It's handcrafted. I mean, that's part of the brand Upstate Vodka, is that it's a handcrafted vodka. What makes that the case? What makes that so? And how is it in that sense distinct and different from like a Tito's, which they make oceans of Tito's?
Yeah. So the original Tito's did start in Dripping Springs, Texas, not Austin, Texas. I used to live in Austin, so it actually isn't made in Austin, but that's one thing. But the original one was made in a pot still, but then they had to go ahead and put into a column still, which I was talking about with here. But it became so popular that that particular location couldn't produce the amount of volume they had to do, so then they started outsourcing. So we actually used to have a smaller still 2 years ago, and we just last year got the new still in, so we could be prepared for that level of volume that's going to happen. So that we don't have to outsource our product, and we can be in charge of the production process.
Right. So they're basically at a brand like Tito's, they're outsourcing the making of the vodka to like random.
Yeah, it is like it's contracted out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what makes this handcrafted.
Yeah.
I was, as I mentioned earlier, surprised and delighted when I first tried Upstate Vodka. The mouthfeel, the velvety, smooth texture was something that was very distinct. I love it simple on the rocks, but it is also fantastic vodka for making cocktails. So with that in mind, should we jump into cocktail number one?
Yeah, which one are we doing first?
Let's do the cranberry gimlet first.
Okay, so I got my shaker chain here. So cranberry gimlet, I'm going to start with lime juice. I always use fresh citrus, and 1 lime, if it's not too dried out, is normally about 1 ounce of lime juice. This here is a citrus squeezer. If you've never seen one before, you put the lime in upside down, so the open part goes down to where the holes are, and then you just squeeze the juice into it. When I'm making cocktails, a good habit to get into is to start with the cheaper things and then Your spirit would be the last thing that you put into it in case you mess up. So you don't ruin the vodka that you already made me drink with. See if I have.
So I've just shared my screen, Will, for everybody watching. This is the recipe.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. I mean, lime juice. By the way, Will, I think I followed your instructions for making. I made my own simple syrup today
Okay.
by boiling water.
Yep.
And putting some sugar in the bottom of a cup and basically putting a couple ounces of boiling water on it, and voila, there was my simple syrup.
So yeah, simple syrup is 1-to-1 boiling water and sugar. So I do it like a cup at a time, just makes it easier for my brain. So we'll do I'll just do one cup of boiling water and then 1 cup of sugar, and then you just stir it until it's dissolved. And you can use it for like coffee and things like that too. If you anything you have to use sugar to, not just for drinking alcohol. So so we have the lime juice in there.
Real quick, Iona, we'll send out to everybody attending. We'll send out the recipes in an email.
So now I'm gonna do the simple syrup made earlier. And then good thing about this is you can use, if you do this without the cranberry juice, it just becomes a regular gimlet. You do it with the cranberry juice, it becomes cranberry gimlet. You can do cherry juice, any kind of or pomegranate juice. So we're just gonna do an ounce of something dark and red. Just add a little color, a little festivity to it, if you will. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces of Upstate Vodka. Okay. This shaker tin is called a Boston shaker. If you guys don't have one, Barfly is a really good brand. They sell them on Amazon. They're not too expensive. You can just get the top and the bottom kind of thing. That's nice. I'll show you how to properly shake. So you put the small one on top of the big one. Smack it pretty hard. So hard that it forms a vacuum seal. So if you pick it up, it'll stay there.
See, I wouldn't trust that. I would be nervous about
that. Practice over the sink first time.
And now explain this, because we did a session with you last year, and you explained how you're supposed to actually do the shaking motion. Yeah.
So you should never shake up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. You actually want to create like a centrifugal force kind of thing, so the ice spins. So you're kind of going to go in a like a choo-choo train, kind of up and down, which will make the ice spin around, and then it'll cool up the drink without it like watering it down.
Yep.
Otherwise you get a bunch of ice chips. So I'm just gonna.
Look at that. Amazing.
And then if you are using the tin, what happens when it gets jammed in there, if you're worried about, there's a line, it forms kind of like a crescent moon that you will see over here, and you just want to smack on the moon, and that kind of opens it up.
Ah, look at that. The tricks of the craft.
Get my drink out of the way. Guys can see that.
Beautiful. Look at that.
There you go. I had some olive oils left over from the last time I did this, so I had a friend dehydrate them for me. But I'm all about lime wheel. The drink is already perfect because you made it. So like the garnish, I think, is more for show than it is for add flavor to it. It's not, if you need to add limes to it, then you didn't make the drink right. So I just like to do something that just puts a little bit of color to it. You can see that it's our, yeah.
Now, did you make the lime wheel yourself?
No, I paid someone to do that. Well, because they have my friend owns a bar and he has a dehydrator.
Yeah.
So I prefer dehydrator. You can do it. I tried to do it in a toaster oven. You can do it in a toaster oven at a really low temperature, but it's better just to buy it.
I gotta say, Will, because I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years. The first time you started showing me stuff like this, I thought I can't do that. Will says it's easy. It's not easy. And then the last couple of times we've done a session, I've done the things myself, and I was like, oh, I can make chai simple syrup.
Yep.
I did it, and so today, everything easy.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a question from Kathleen. What glassware is best?
Okay, so this here is called a coupe glass. So that is my personal favorite. I ever filled it. I don't like the V martini glasses. They tend to actually, you're more likely to spill drinking out of them.
Yeah.
They're a little bit, these are classier. This is what most cocktail bars would be using. The other thing you keep in mind is like, I should have used a bigger glass, honestly. So there's a thing called a wash line. So a wash line is like the top of like the line of where the cocktail is in your glass.
Yeah.
So if you want to have good wash lines, you want it to be close to the top but not on the top. So people don't have to bend down and like drink out of it before they pick it up.
Right.
I ever did it. So
Delicious.
and then I got some rocks glasses. So I use these are called double old-fashioned glasses too, I think, that I use for like any kind of drink that's going to be on ice. I've got like a Riedel is a really cool brand that makes really nice wine glasses, as you know, and then they also have a separate division. They make like spirits glasses. I forget, it's Zott Schwartzman or something. Hold on, Nachman is the name of it. That's
Yeah,
right.
I love the Riedel product line. Their glasses are, I think, the best out there, both for wine, for cocktails, for all kinds of things.
Riedel actually has a separate. So my friend met the owner, and he has a cocktail bar, and he created an entire line of cocktail glasses through Riedel. It's Zane Harris. It's his collection. So they make a separate one. But yeah, there's that. I don't have a Nick and Nora glass. Nick and Nora glass is also a cute little one to use. They're similar. They have a stem as well, but they're kind of they're taller and then not as wide.
Got it.
Yeah. They're like a very like 1920 type of cocktail kind of vibe.
All right, that is very cool. So I think we're ready to do cocktail number 2.
Doogie?
Which is the spiced cider. And this is the one I just made, and I've been sipping it. It's delicious. It's a little bit, and this may sound blasphemous, but it's a little reminiscent of like a pumpkin spice latte. It's got a little of that fall feeling of the cider, and then you have the chai.
It is a fall feeling.
You have the chai in there too.
Yeah. That was the plan. Like people are saying that, like, you can't sell clear spirits during the winter. So I challenged that, and I came up with this cocktail. So
this is your recipe.
This is my recipe. This is not, something that I took from somebody else. So it's something I made up.
So for everybody watching, I made the chai tea syrup, simple syrup today. Just boiled water, combined equal parts of water and sugar. And then, obviously put a chai black tea bag into the vessel, and voila, I had chai tea syrup, and it has a tremendous beneficial effect on this particular cocktail. It's delicious.
So it's got the lemon juice in here now.
Yeah.
So actually, the chai tea syrup, I actually make it a little bit stronger. So I used when I first did it, and because it turned out right, I've never done it any other way. Is I did like 8 tea bags into 8 ounces of water, or a little bit more than 8 ounces of water. Because once you remove the tea bags, you want to have 8 ounces left over.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like a super strong sweet tea, if you will. So that is.
Holy caffeine, Batman is the comment in the chat.
I used to work for a cold brew coffee liqueur. That was way worse than this. So yeah. That's the fresh local apple cider. I'm gonna do 2 ounces of this. The beauty of this cocktail is you can drink it cold or you can warm it up. If you're warming it up, I'd like to just cut back a little bit on the lemon juice, because the lemon juice kind of gets more pronounced as you heat it up. So we got that there.
This is one of these cocktails, Will, you created something special here, because it's very delicious, and it doesn't really taste like you're having a cocktail.
No, it's dangerous. go.
I'm jealous of your jigger there.
And so this is called a Japanese jigger, that are like a tall one. These are different styles. So this here is a Leopold jigger.
Mhm.
That's wider, and it's easier to hold if you have small hands.
Yep.
And then I think I got rid of this is a cheap jigger that I stole from my first bar job. Don't ever get those. So. The Japanese ones because it's more accurate, but like I said, the Leopold ones are really great too because you can hold them easily, and they both look cooler. So. I gotta hold it. The other thing, if you notice, I might turn sideways when I shake because when I learned how to bartend, if you don't have a proper scale and you start shaking, then liquid will fly out and possibly on your customer. So that way, if you turn sideways and hit your coworkers.
A good idea. Another question from the chat, history-wise, who started the idea of apple vodka?
Who started the idea of making vodka from apples?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not the first one. There's other brands, and actually, I know there's another New York brand as well, but it doesn't taste like ours. So, vodka can be made from anything that produces sugar. So, technically, you can make vodka out of Twinkies. You can make vodka out of anything.
So it's I would hazard to say, Kathleen, that apple-based vodka has probably been made for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
By somebody. But
because back in like the bootlegging days, like you just needed something, you can produce alcohol with something with sugar, and New York had a bunch of apples, so I'm sure people were doing it. So there it is. The spice cider.
Got mine right here.
You got a little cinnamon stick on top of there.
This is a fall cocktail, big time. This is a fall cocktail. Is vodka, another question in the chat, is vodka comparable to moonshine?
Okay, so
the question that we were just talking about made the person asking this question ask the question about is
that's a great question. It's a great question. So vodka is regulated by the Trade and Tax Bureau, U.S. government. So in the United States, it has to be distilled to 95 or 96. I'm going to get into what Europe is the other one. So it's like, I think it's 96% alcohol here, and it's 95% in Europe. So anything below that would be considered moonshine, if you will. So, because whiskey can't be just like, whiskey normally stops at 160. So anything that's like distilled between like 80% alcohol and 95% alcohol would be moonshine.
So I have a question about that. So,
because there's actually moonshine brands you see out now, and that's because they don't classify in another category. So that's why they're moonshine.
So when this vodka and other vodkas that are proper vodkas and produced that way are put in bottles, they're 80 proof, which means they're 40% alcohol.
Yeah, so they're cut with water. Yeah.
I see. So that was my question. So yeah, how does it get from 97% to 40 and it's water, it's mixed with water?
Yeah. And our water source is New York water. Like we actually have some of the cleanest water in the country. So
is moonshine sometimes not cut? Is that why it's so strong?
No, it's all cut because I mean, otherwise it'd burn insides, you know. It'd be like
it would be physically harmful.
It'll be physically. But you'll see there's brands out now that are moonshine. That's because they're not. Sometimes a moonshine is an unaged whiskey. It's just where they choose not to be classified as an unaged whiskey. But like, there's legal designations for gin, tequila, rum, whiskey, bourbon, blah 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 blah. And if they don't fit in there, then moonshine is kind of like a catch-all category for like It doesn't mean it's bad. It's
Yeah.
just it doesn't fit in a legal category, and therefore you can't call it something else. So
Well, you hit a home run on both of these cocktails. And I was really impressed at how easy it was for me to make them.
that's awesome. I'm really happy because that's the plan. Because I want people to be able to make them. So
And I substituted. I have a confession to make. I didn't have lemon juice, but I had like that really nice lemonade that's like pure. It's just lemon juice and cane sugar.
mhm.
And I used that instead of lemon juice. And my simple syrup, my chai simple syrup was not that wasn't as sweet as it was probably more like, 1 part chai tea and
Well, probably balance itself out then. So
yeah, it
acid,
balances itself
sugar and
out.
acid balance each other out. So if you're ever drinking or you're making a cocktail and it's too tart, add more sugar. If it's too sweet, add more acid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't add more booze.
We did one, the last session that you and I did, we did one where there was an egg white.
Yeah.
And that was pretty easy too, but that was a little more involved than these, but these were super easy to do as long as you had like the cranberry, the lime juice, etc. And the simple syrup, you're good to go.
If you want to do a cocktail with an egg white, which like a traditional sour, like a whiskey sour or any sour, if you will, it was made with egg white and it wasn't made with like, sour mix. So it would be lemon juice, sugar, and egg white, and you would put that into a shaker without ice first, and then you would shake that, and that makes the egg white kind of like froth up.
Right.
And you would add then you would add your base spirit, and then you would add ice, and then you would you shake it again, and then pour it up, and you get this lovely foam on the top.
Yeah, and the texture is quite beautiful when you have the egg white in the cocktail.
Yeah, and if you're vegan, you can use chickpea juice from a can.
Oh, is that right? Wow, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. Well, I'm going to put the website for Upstate back in the chat so everyone has it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Quick question for everybody watching, and especially Iona. Did you get the Dropbox link? I put the PDF with the 2 recipes right in the chat. So if you can click on that while we're still live.
It's on our website too. So
it's also on the website.
So you go to the website, separate section for cocktails, and half of them are mine and half of them are somebody else's. Mine are the easier ones to make.
Are there some more complicated?
There's some other ones like more complicated. They're like, I can make them, but I'm like, there are a lot of if you want to get super fancy, go over that end. But yeah, if you just want something easy, go in my. It doesn't say which one's which. I'm not gonna tell you. So
well, I think that's one of the things that people, and including myself, occasionally are sort of, a little afraid of, is that some of the more complicated recipes are like, oh, we're not gonna be able to do that at home.
Yeah.
But that was not my experience today. So it's state run. I guess the question is, Kathleen, are you able to order wine from wine.com or any of the big sort of online retailers and have it shipped into North Carolina? That would be I think North Carolina is a state that can be shipped into. I know that Kentucky, Utah, Alabama, and a couple of others there's absolutely no shipping in. The only place you can buy wine or spirits in those states, and it's 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's not that many. Like I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Not that many, so
Yeah. I think, Kelly, that's a good point. It may be okay on wine and North Carolina.
In the states, unless it's wine.
I might say spirits have to be in state. It is an alphabet soup of regulations and laws in 50 different states.
50 little countries. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But yeah. Well, Will, I want to thank you for doing this. It's always a pleasure to visit with you in your at your mixing station there in your kitchen. And I finished my my cider.
So, quick. These are delicious. I haven't I haven't drank them because I was making sure I didn't go through it all. So all my mixers. So I waited, and now they're delicious. So
I mean, I finished my spice cider, and that's really not like me. I'm usually a little more paced than that. Anyway, thank you so much for doing this. And thank you everybody for tuning in. If you like wine, we're doing another broadcast next week with a kind of amazing winery in Northern California, in Sonoma, that has a lot of family legacy and some great wines. So we're looking forward to that. So tune in next Wednesday, the 28th, same time, 7 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to do a profile and a wine tasting with Drink Winery, DRNK, no I. So, Will, thank you. We'll catch you the next time we're in Brooklyn, and we look forward to enjoying more cocktails with Upstate Vodka.
Take care, Sam. Thanks.
All right, guys. Good night. Have a great one.